Welcome to the Forward Podcast. I'm your host, Thomas Shepard. I'm with my wife tonight, coming to you each and every week, trying to really discuss topics that are encouraging and in help to the family, your marriage, and or if you're a teenager just growing up in this culture and this society. And just want to thank everyone who each and every week are listening. And so actually we're doing this on a different night than what we usually do it on. But we're trying to switch things up, right, Kara?
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Coming to you on what is tonight? Saturday. Oh my goodness.
It just kind of worked out where it's like, okay, we've done a lot of Tuesday nights and we do some Sunday nights as well. And so tonight it's one of those, we had a little bit of an opening. And so we're like, hey, let's go ahead and dive into this week, which really helps.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's been such a good week.
Well, tell everybody about your week. Tell them how
I don't
amazing
know.
your week was.
I didn't even know what day it was. So I'm just in general saying it was a good week. Try to be positive.
I'll help you out. Carrie had such an awesome week because
Did I?
Yeah, when she is married to Thomas Shepard, look,
It
you're
is
going to have a good week.
Oh my word.
You're going to have a great week.
It was Spirit Week at school.
Oh, that's
And
right.
it was my first Spirit Week where I literally did nothing. I mean, typically I'm
What do you mean?
making, like I'm helping the kids with costumes every day.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
You know, because
That's true.
Spirit Week, they have to dress up something different every week. And I used to just dread it because it was 5 kids, 5 days, like 25 different outfits, you know, figuring out what they want to wear and digging through bins. And it was, I not dread it so
Yeah.
bad every year.
No,
I
you
would
did
be like,
great.
why? But this year our administration did it. It was a shorter week. So it was 4 days instead of 5. And then our kids are older. I did nothing. I saw little mommy Lois up there with her clipboard and pen, and
That
she
girl
was
is seriously amazing at what
she
she
was
does.
whipping
She just-
everyone into shape.
She does. She just steps right in there and
Yeah.
knocks it out. She does
So
awesome.
it was my first year. I would just come down in the mornings and look at everybody like, "Oh, you look nice. Great job."
And a couple
didn't
of
do a
our kids
thing.
won.
It was great. Yeah, they did. Nora
I'm
won a
proud
couple
of 'em.
times.
Yeah.
So it was an awesome year
Yeah,
for
that's great.
Spirit Week.
That's
I
great.
had more spirit than anyone because I didn't have to do anything. I was happier than everyone.
Oh my word, that
Yeah,
is
it was
funny.
good.
Yeah, it was great. It was a good week. I hope you as a listener are having a good week. And this comes out every Monday morning. So most of the feedback that we get is on Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah.
And people listen to this podcast early, or most of our listeners are early in the morning. So whatever routine you're going through right now on this Monday morning, I hope that it
happy
is
Monday.
great for you, for sure. Well, Kara, we're going to discuss a topic probably over the next 2 weeks, maybe break this up a little bit. And we've actually got some notes and some personal stories that we're hoping will be a help to you no matter what your age is. This is a subject where I feel like personally I have struggled with at times. Maybe you have. I don't really know. You didn't really say if you did. Or, I feel like you do not. But anyways, in the culture in which we live, people really struggle with this. And
Yeah.
so we want to kind of address is handling criticism and handling criticism gracefully, both in life and ministry and also in marriage. And we live in a day where it's tough because we're all on social media. So we all judge each other. And at times, because everyone's on social media and watching, we all feel like we have a free pass to lean into each other's lives. And that's not always necessarily true, but there are people out there that genuinely want to help. And so we want to talk about how to be constructively right in your criticism, but then also how to receive it. And I feel like that's where probably we have the hardest time is receiving something that is negative, because our lines are so drawn. Because people feel like they are so set, even in Christianity, we feel like we have reached this apex where we can't grow, we're settled where we're at, and if you come into my space or my bubble or tell me that I'm wrong, boom, we fly off, we can't handle it.
Yeah.
This is where a lot of first, second, third degree separation comes in, and we have to separate, we can't be together, we can't have church together, blah, blah, and so on and so forth. And so I said a lot in this run-on sentence, but that's kind of that's kind of the direction that we are going. So,
Yeah.
Carrie, why don't you start us off tonight? We kind of want to talk about, first of all, the role or recognizing the role of criticism in growth.
Mm-hmm.
So, kind of address that starting out, recognizing the role of criticism in growth personally.
Yeah, I heard a quote a long time ago. I say a long time ago, maybe a couple years. I have no idea when I heard this quote, but I remember hearing it.
When did I say it? I can't
it wasn't
remember.
you.
Okay.
But I don't know who said it. I don't know. Don't ask me for dates or context. No clue. But I remember it. But I remember someone saying, "It's good when something is your fault because then you have the power to change it." That
Wait,
really
say that
helped
again.
my
I'm
life.
sorry, I tuned out.
Where'd you go?
I wasn't listening.
Welcome
I
back
was thinking about what I was going to say.
to the Four Podcast.
What's up?
Hey, what's up? Somebody said
Okay.
that stuck in my brain. It's good if something is your fault because then you have the power to change it.
Oh, okay.
That quote really changed my
That's
life
good.
because I think we all are immediately on the defense when someone says that something's our fault or they hit us with a criticism, or we get in an argument and there's an accusation, and immediately our defenses go up. And I grew up that way. I mean, that's humanity. That's very normal. And it's common for someone to immediately defend themselves or take a defensive position. But when I heard that quote, it changed my life because I thought if someone's accusing me or has an issue with me and I push it away, like, no, you're wrong. I can do no wrong. I'm not at fault. Well, then there's a rupture there and there's no repair.
Yeah.
Because that person's upset. Now I'm upset that they're upset at me. And there's this, continuing wound that no one has the power to heal because, and we say this all the time to our kids, right? It's no one's fault.
Ever.
Right. It's no one's fault.
I said
There's
it
7 people in
yesterday.
this house, but no one left this here. And it's kind of a funny thing to think of like in your home because obviously
Oh, my word.
someone did that. Someone spilled that. Someone knocked it over. And so it's obvious, in a situation with children. But a lot of times in our relationships as adults, we will let that, like, no, it's not my fault. Well, I'm hurt. Well, there's this rupture and there's this problem,
Right.
but it's no one's fault, right? So I heard that quote and it really went a long way in the way I view myself. Like, look, I want something to be my fault because if it is, I have power. That gives me power within my abilities to change a problem into a solution. And I love looking at it that way.
Yeah.
And it makes me happy now if someone comes to me and says, hey, I have an issue with this or that. If it's truly not my fault, I'm almost disappointed now. Like, I can't help you and I'm sorry. I wish it was something within my power to control. Yeah. But if someone comes to me and that falls within my jurisdiction, so to speak, of my family or our ministry, I'm like, good. Okay, yes, that's something I can help you with. Whether it's helping you to understand that this is the way it needs to be, but I can walk you through the steps why. Or if it's, you know what, I made a mistake there.
Yeah.
But now that I know about that mistake, I get to fix it.
Right.
Because maybe I just truly didn't know.
Yes.
So I love that quote.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a great thing to remember if you're being criticized or if someone comes to you with an accusation. It's good to remember, like, this is power. It's not an attack. It's power in my hands to fix something.
Yes, I do agree, but that's not always easy. I think
it's true. It's not. It's
like
not ever
I hear
easy.
Right. I hear and absolutely do agree with you. But I'm looking at my own flesh, and that's not always easy. Just to be like, okay, I'm going to accept that I was wrong, and so now I get to change the scenario. First of all, I think for everyone, including myself, we need to realize it is okay to be wrong. See, I think we're bringing up a generation where we used to debate, and we really could take on this, hey, let's come to the middle. let's be able to talk to each other, let's reason with each other. And now it's not. It's either you're right or you're wrong.
Right.
And that's not always the case. I feel like in every scenario, we ought to be willing and or want to grow, like desire to grow, Care.
Oh,
Honestly.
absolutely.
So number one, when you're saying this, being defensive, number one, it's okay, I think, to be wrong. But then also number two, not everyone that is coming with criticism, if it's constructive, it's not meant to tear you down. Not everyone who is giving or leaning into someone's life is meant for, I'm making you feel stupid, or I'm making you feel bad, or you need to change something. Sometimes constructive criticism really is for, hey, I'm willing to help you to grow and to learn.
Yeah.
Early in my ministry, and also, Care, early in our marriage, I had to learn that, and that was not easy.
Yeah.
I felt like when you would come and you would say something that was constructive, I always took it kind of to heart too fast. Like, oh, she's trying to correct me, or oh, she thinks she's better than I am, and I'm being very dramatic in saying this, but I had to learn, like, actually, we're a team.
Yeah.
No one knows me better than my wife, and if she sees something that needs to be fixed, then I need to fix this. Like, this is actually going to help me. You were in ministry way longer than I've been in ministry. You've been in ministry 20 years longer than I have. You've seen all types of scenarios, and you have a woman's intuition that I don't have. And so I learned when you would lean into my life, number one, it was okay for me to be wrong at times. And number two, not everyone who was coming at me, including yourself, it was not meant to tear me down. A lot of times it was to build me up.
We do live in a culture where it is almost impossible to speak the truth in love. People are just so offended so easily.
Yeah, that's very true.
I don't know why we think, and I include us in this too, because we're all human, but like we just go through life with this pride built up. Like, everything I decide is 100% correct. Like, no human on earth gets to claim that.
Right.
Like, everyone believes something or has an opinion or does something in a way which might not be correct, or it's not correct for everyone.
Right.
It might be the way you do it, and that's fine, but it doesn't, it's not written in the laws of God. Like, everyone must, run their family this way, or have this standard or this mode of operation, or, of course, I'm thinking from girl world, like, women tend to think, oh, do you work outside the home? If you have kids, do you stay home with your kids? And that's been like a big debate, culturally speaking, in my generation. But I think we all kind of are collectively coming to this reasoning of it actually varies. And there's not one hard and fast rule of the way you have to do it. And so it is difficult in this culture to drop that pride. And that's all it is. It's just pride.
Yeah.
It is 100% pride and or ego that just makes us think we are right about everything.
Right.
And it's okay to think that your way of doing things is right. But the caveat comes in when someone addresses you, hey, maybe it's not. And we should have the humility and the wherewithal, just honestly the common sense to say, I should consider this as an option that maybe I need to change something, or maybe the way I'm doing something, even if it's not wrong, it could be better.
Right.
So
let's talk about this, Kara. How do you how do you look for valuable takeaways even in a harsh feedback? Even when somebody really does come at you and they're not articulating well, hey, I'm giving you something that can help grow you. They're harsh. They're in your face. This happens often in ministry. You never talk to somebody ever. The only time you ever talk to somebody is when they have feedback, and it's usually bad feedback, and it's harsh. It's not like just, hey, can we think about this? Like, I've been praying about it. It's always, we need to do this. We need to do it now because blah, 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 blah. And it's just this harsh in your face.
Yeah.
So how do you, now being in your 40s, how do you take away from, hey, I've got this feedback. It's harsh, but there has to be value somewhere there, right?
Yeah. For me personally, I what just my little brain trick that I do, if someone's giving me harsh criticism, I assume 50% of it is untrue and 50% of it is true. Um, that's that's a little bit of a cushion there. What?
I like it.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a cushion, because if someone comes at you, in a direct and harsh way,
Right.
If you think like, oh, 100% of what they're saying is true about me, that can be a big pill to swallow. That's a
Right.
little,
Right.
that's tough. That's tough on anyone. But again, if you resist 100% and say, I'm not listening to anything you say, well, you're going to go through life and you're never going to improve.
Right.
And you're
Right.
never going to be able to handle, you probably won't have friends, honestly, because you just can't go through life thinking that you're
Right.
always right.
Right.
No one wants to be around that person. So for me personally, I just do the 50-50 rule. I'm going to assume 50% of this is true about me, and I need to work on that, and I need to go through it and walk through it.
Yes.
And I'm going to just say that the other 50% is that person's emotions, and they were upset when they were speaking, or this is, they've been burying this for a long time and it's finally all coming out, and maybe they over dramatized it a little bit. And typically that's true.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
when you give someone, you think about the percentage of people that come to you with criticism, they've usually been sitting on it for a long time.
Yeah.
And they're not coming
They've
in a
gone through the
spirit.
scenarios.
Yeah.
They've run it over their head. Yes.
They've planned what they're going to say for, like, sometimes it can be years. I mean, I've had people come to me and
Oh,
like,
wow.
I've had this problem with you for years. I'm like, years? What have you been doing?
Yeah, that's true. I had a guy say that. You preached in a sermon one time 7 years ago.
7
I'm not
years.
joking. Literally.
There is a statute of limitations on grievances, and you are
7 years is
beyond
definitely
it,
over.
sir. You are beyond it. So for me, you have to assume that 50% of it, typically speaking, is going to be just heightened emotion.
Right.
And, when you're in an argument with someone, what always happens? When you resolve it, they come back and say, I didn't mean that. That happens so often. So I just go ahead and write off 50% of what people are going to say as they were emotional, or they were really upset,
Yeah.
or, they didn't know my side of it. They just let it all tumble out in one big ungraceful moment. And so we're just going to write off half of it to the glory of God.
Lord, you can have 50%, the other 50%.
Yeah, I'll take half of this, but I'm giving God the other half because none of that was right. But I think if you do that, and if you have that mindset immediately of, all right, some of it's valuable and some of it's not, then you can digest it a lot easier.
Let me give some constructive criticism to all those that are listening, that you're either in ministry and or you attend church. So I think this will really help you. And you need to share this, because this is what I'm about to say will help everyone in the church. In church, you don't have to be silent. No one wants to be under a narcissistic type of leader that just runs everything, and you can't say anything, and it's this person's way or the highway. It doesn't work for anybody. It's actually not biblical. So let's talk about it for a second. You have something to say. You've got constructive criticism you want to give someone, and maybe even that person is a leader. Here is the best way to handle it. Number one is, I wrote this down. Number one is encourage more than you discourage.
Yeah.
So if you only speak to a leader when you have something negative to say, you're going to be a person that most leaders try to avoid. Period. That's the way it is. We all know somebody that you ask them how they're doing, and you get a dissertation on how awful life is every single time. This hurts. I was in the hospital. Can't pay my bills. Everybody else got sunshine. It's rain. It's a dark cloud around me. Nobody wants to hang around a person like that. So number one, if you have something to say, make sure that you are encouraging those leaders or those people, even youth, younger people. Make sure you are an encouragement more than you are a discourage.
Yeah.
That way, when you approach them, it's not oh, here they come. What's it going to be this time? It's actually, you can engage them much easier. Number one, encourage. Number two, pray. Pray about the situation before you go. I can't tell you how many times I've been in the flesh. I've wanted to say something. I wait a day or two and it goes away. It was silly. It was dumb. Who cares? Like, life is way too short to even get upset over this. So make sure you encourage. Number two, make sure you're praying about the situation and never address it in the flesh. And then number three is communicate. Communicate well. Make sure that you are doing it in a way that's not hey preacher, can I talk to you? And it's 1 minute before they're going to the platform. And it's, I really don't appreciate when you,
Yeah.
that communicate in a way that's not tearing somebody down. You got a problem with the deacon, or, you actually have something that could benefit the choir director. 1 minute before choir practice starts is not a great time, or right after. It's, hey, can we set up a meeting? Man, I've got something. I really think it could help the way that we worship. And I've been praying about it. And so here's what I have. So it is, you're encouraging, you're praying about it, and then you're communicating in a way that the timing is right.
Yeah.
That is going to help everyone, because I don't want to live in a world where I can't give constructive criticism, and I definitely don't want to live in a world where I can't receive it.
Yeah.
And I feel like we live more in a world right now where we are much more able to give it than we are receive it. Everybody wants to lean in everybody's life. Put one thing on Facebook this week that is going to grate on people, and immediately you'll start getting replies.
Yeah.
They're mad and they're upset. They don't want to receive it.
Yeah.
But we do need to be able to receive it.
Yeah. And I think something that goes hand in hand with that is criticism should come from closeness. If you don't know someone, if you haven't built up that value in your relationship, you really don't have a platform to speak into their life at all. And if it's kind of in that in-between part, I like to rename criticism of someone
really
that I
good.
don't have a relationship with. I like to rename it curiosity. So if I have closeness with you, then criticism has to be part of our relationship, right? The Bible says the wounds of a friend are better than the kisses of an enemy.
Right.
And that implies there that wounding is actually eventually for your healing. It's that wounding of our pride. And you're doing that to assist your friends. So that criticism has to be part of a closeness. If you're not close with someone, I rename that criticism curiosity. And where that comes in is if you've never built a relationship with your pastor, if you don't have a good relationship with your children, your in-laws, extended family, whomever, that should not be a place where you feel comfortable to criticize, but it can be a place of curiosity. So you could go to someone and say, hey, I noticed that you do this and this and this. Explain to me your logic behind that. I've never seen it done that way before. I'm curious as to how that works for you. And what you're doing is you're approaching someone that you might not be close with, but maybe you have an artificial an artificial, not the right word, superficial relationship. That's just kind of maybe beginning or whatever the case may be. You see them once a year, but you truly have an idea that might be better for them or whatever the case may be. But you're approaching it in a way that you're coming from curiosity. Explain to me your position on that and how did you reach that conclusion? And what that does is opens both of you up for a really good dialogue.
Yes.
Where you're both learning, and that person is, without even realizing it, they're evaluating how they do something.
Yeah.
And within that evaluation, they might come to a different conclusion, and they didn't even know you were, in your mind criticizing what they believe. But because you came at it from a place of curiosity, it really opens up a lot more thought from both of you.
Yeah.
Instead of you just saying, and this is why I never criticize people online. I don't know you well enough unless it's, my family. And in that case, I would tell them to their face. Yeah.
Oh, my word.
I mean, if you
So
can
good.
criticize someone online, you should be saying it to their face because you're close enough with them. And if you're not close enough with them to say it to their face, you shouldn't say it at all.
Can I interject right here?
Please do.
This is a pet peeve of mine. Criticism, you said, if you don't know that person well enough online, don't criticize. And it's true even to the fact of I'm looking for a word, Karen, I can't think of it, insinuating. The insinuation, it drives me nuts. Preachers do this all the time. They insinuate about another ministry without saying the ministry's name or the pastor's. Well, I wish pastors would stop saying blah, blah, blah. Well, they're talking about one person.
Yeah.
You never called that person. You never spoke to them. We spoke on this probably 4 or 5 months ago when that it was a mess. But anyways, this article comes out on Facebook and it's talking about music and it's talking about one preacher down south and his music. And the person who put it out, the problem that I had with it was they never addressed the preacher. They never
Mm-hmm.
called them. They never had, let's sit down and talk. Let's read. It's just this whole article on here's where I don't agree with you and here's all this criticism. I'm just telling you, that actually is scripturally and biblically wrong.
Yeah.
And so, and even worse than that is when you just insinuate about a person. It just, I wish so-and-so would blah, blah, blah. That just helps nobody. Then everybody's thinking, who is it? Well, maybe they're talking about me, maybe they're not. It's a complete waste of time, honestly. Sorry to interrupt, but
No,
I feel like
that's
this pet peeve of mine.
very true. There are a few things I refuse to do in my life, and criticizing people online is one of them.
Yeah.
I will not do it. I will not lower myself to those standards of behavior. If I need to have a conversation with someone about something that I disagree with, I will call them. I will Marco them. I will talk to them.
Yeah.
I will speak to them. I will not let negative comments from me be seen by thousands of people online. I just won't.
That's so true.
It's just a foolish, sinful thing.
Do you think when you see that taking place, I'm not even going to go there. I think it just, I think we've said it.
We've covered it. Yeah.
But do you think whoever's listening to this, we're trying to get them to tune in? You think they're getting it? We're insinuating. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. Carrie, tell me this. Let's talk about, we'll do this episode on ministry. Then the next one we'll talk about marriage, maybe friendship. So
Sure.
We got to finish this out. So let's say this. Give me a story that would be criticism in your life that led to a positive change in your life. Maybe even you were apprehensive to it, but kind of leaning towards ministry and or maybe even friendship, but something that someone told you and they came to you. Maybe you were even a little bit defensive at first, but then it led to something good.
Oh man, you sprung it on me.
Okay, do you want me to go first?
Yeah, if you can help.
I do have one in ministry. So this is just kind of a scenario of what we're talking about. I remember this personally for me early on in ministry. I was not pastor, but I was an interim pastor at our first ministry there in West Virginia. And I had an older mentor in my life by the name of Pastor Wayne Holder. And we were meeting each and every week, and he was just helping me with the day-to-day of being a pastor. And it was a Sunday night, and we were closing out in prayer, and I can't remember what I said, but I picked on, he became one of my best friends, but Bob Cook. And you remember Bob? So
well, he probably deserved it. So
well, he was in the back, and I said something that was really funny, and Bob, even in the back, laughed so hard.
Yeah,
and
he can take anything.
Oh, yeah.
He's hilarious.
And everybody in the congregation laughed because it was a smaller congregation, and we were a big family, and everybody loved Bob Cook. And so nothing said. I mean, I said something, everybody laughed, we closed in prayer, we were done. And the next day, Pastor Holder told me, and he said, hey, remember when you made fun of Bob in the back? Yeah. And he said, it may have been funny to you, it probably was funny to the congregation, but deep down, that hurts people. I remember at first being like, oh my word, it's Bob. Like everybody knows Bob. Bob and I are great friends.
And
like,
Bob teases people.
And he teases people.
Yeah.
And you know what though? That older pastor in my life was exactly right. It does hurt because I remember being in scenarios where someone would make fun of me and everyone would laugh, a Southern accent or this or that. And it's funny, but deep down it does hurt. And I remember that constructive criticism in my life led to a positive change. That I thought, I'm not making fun of anybody from the pulpit. That I'm going to lift God up and Jesus up, and I'm not tearing anyone down. And that was one scenario of my life where I was like, kind of apprehensive, like, oh, brother, Pastor Holder, this guy. But no, he was right. And it led to a positive change in my life.
Especially being a public figure, even in a smaller church. It's not like we're in a mega church or anything,
right.
But that you can always, like, people remember that stuff.
And they do.
And I mean, if it's one-on-one, I remember going out with so many times with Bob and Luann, and we would joke with each other the entire time we're eating out, but that's one-on-one. It's just different. When you have a platform and you say something publicly, there is always that risk that you hurt someone or that you use your platform in a way in which, it's not it's just not becoming.
Maybe I might need to call Bob and apologize for whatever that was 15 years
Oh,
ago.
brother.
Bob, if you're listening,
Statute
here
of
is
limitations.
here's my official apology for whatever I said at the end of the
Yeah.
service, circa
Yeah.
whatever, 2010 probably or whatever. Anyways.
I have one. I remember
Yeah.
one time I had a lady tell me, I was a young pastor's wife, and a lady told me, when you take ladies on leadership, ladies retreats, there's like an activity, you need to be in charge. Like you need to be okay with being the leader. And I don't really have a problem being in charge. I mean, I'm an oldest sister, so the bossiness is flowing.
Oh, it's
But
our marriage, that's for sure.
Did you just criticize me publicly?
Sorry about that.
But I also do not mind someone else being in charge.
Sure.
I kind of speak both languages. Like I can easily be a follower and just someone tell me what to do. I'll follow instructions. I'm fine with that. But I don't mind stepping up either. And then we had gone on a ladies' trip, and I had just let some of the stronger personalities decide, like, sure, we can do that. Sure. And I hadn't like made a plan, had the organization and stuck with it. I just thought, well, there's only like 20 something of us. We'll just do what we feel. We'll play it by ear. Well, it did not go well. And it got messy at the end, to where I was put in a very awkward situation and had to kind of step up and tell some people, no, we're not doing that. But by then I had not established, an opinion and a plan in the first place. So then I kind of looked like a jerk. So that lady pulled me aside and said, you have to be able to lead and to say, this is what we're doing. They want you to do that. Everyone wants a plan to follow.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you're going to have the stronger personalities take over, and then it's going to get messy like it did. And that was hurtful to me in the moment, because I just wanted that person to say, can you believe they did that to you? How embarrassing. They're such jerks, and
it's easier, right?
Yeah.
Like
I wanted them to defend me and
right.
say, like, they should have known their place, or
Right.
they should have known better. But she was right. I was the pastor's wife. That's my title. Like it or leave it. Like, that's what we've chosen to do and to
Sure.
be. And I have to accept that a few times a year when we do these things, it's my job. And so it was difficult to hear, and it didn't make me feel better about the trip. And I felt embarrassed, but she was exactly right.
Yeah.
And I had to take that home and sit there and say, like, I have to digest this, and I have to be okay with changing, and it really for their good. For the good of the ladies that want to go and want a smooth and enjoyable trip. So that was mine.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It was very good.
Well, you do not want to miss next week's episode, because we are going to talk about criticism to each other.
Marriage.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you, what criticism have I given you that you just grew and blossomed into this incredible human that you are? No, next week we'll dive more into maybe friendships and then also marriage as well. But this week, here's what I want you to do. Many of you are on YouTube, and we're so appreciative of that. Jump whatever you listen to, and or email us, or jump on one of our social media accounts and just tell us a story in your life where you received criticism and you actually had a positive change.
Yeah.
And or if you want to add to my what I kind of thought here, encourage, pray, and then what was the last one? Communicate.
Yes.
Couldn't even read my own handwriting. That's horrible. Communicate. Something that's worked for you in the past. Man, shoot us a message. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you for all the 5-star reviews as well. And then also many of you are jumping on TikTok now, which is wonderful. Yep. And is it Kristen who's doing she's doing such a great job.
Kristen is amazing. Thank you, Kristen.
Kristen, you are just awesome. She's done so great at getting some clips out there as well. Yeah. So, hey, thanks for tuning in. We will see you this next week.
Have a great week.